morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson. We are located on the land of the Eastern Cherokee and Southern Iroquois. It's good to be here and to be with all of you today. I'm Kari Moss, and my pronouns are she and her, and I'm a member of the UU Fellowship of Clemson's Worship Associate team. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your life journey, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, wherever you were born, whatever language you speak, you are welcome here. Whatever your skin color, whatever your class background, whatever your range of abilities, you are welcome here. We are so glad that you chose our fellowship as your place of worship this morning. If you're joining us for the first time this morning, welcome. If you're a visitor and would like to stand and tell us who you are, you're welcome to do so now. No visitors this morning? Okay. After the service, we gather for coffee and social connection in the social room. Please join us. If you're interested in getting our weekly newsletter so you can get connected to our community, our weekly sharings of joys and concerns, and our collective efforts to support local social justice work, please reach out to the office by email or our website. Okay, I have a number of announcements this morning. Each year we take up a special collection to show our appreciation for our non-ministerial staff. On the website, under Ways to Donate, you may select End-of-Year Staff Appreciation Gift. The next meeting has been changed for the Buddhist Study Group. It's changed to November 30th. You can contact Renee Mendola. Today, there's the Social Action Committee will meet in the sanctuary at 11:50. And there's a PFLAG Pickens Interests meeting on Saturday, November 29th at 3 p.m. at the Hampton House in Pickens. For more information, you can contact Audrey Lamford. And we want to make note of Rosie's Christmas Open House. You can find that on the back of your announcements. Thank you.
All right. Good morning. I'm the Reverend Holly Brown. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm the minister here at UUFC. And I'd like to name that our service is slightly different today and is going to have a little bit heavier discussion, or, well, not discussion per se, but a topic about land acknowledgements, given that we are in the midst of the week of Thanksgiving. And so I offer these words as our opening and call to worship. We gather here to remember this is our home, but not just ours. This land we live on, this water we drink, this air we breathe. These old mountains that hold us steady to our ground, these forests that give us their healing green, these flowers that give us their beauty and fragrance, these fields that give us our daily bread, these stars that show us our place. The wilderness and the tame backyards, all of it our home. We remember the ancestors who have lived on this land and have shaped it. The Eastern Band Cherokee, the Southern Iroquois, the settlers, the mountaineers, the farmers, the hunters, the immigrants, the artists, the families, the explorers, the business people, the engineers, the builders, the scientists, the teachers, the workers, the leaders. We inherit their choices. We honor the animals and the creatures that have made their home in this land, the ones here now and the ones that used to be here. We envision the future generations who will live on this land and let their voices fill our hearts. We gather here to remember this is our home, but not just ours. Come, let us worship together. And in the spirit of worship, you are invited to rise in body, mind, or spirit, wherever you are, to sing number 349, We Gather Together.
At this time, I'd like to invite Sebastian to light our chalice. Thank you, buddy. Now let us share in the reading of this fellowship's affirmation that is shared in the order of service. We gather together in a spirit of love, with justice as our guide. This is our chosen covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth with freedom, and to care for one another.
So this morning's Time for All Ages story is another story from a Native American author, and it, I think, beautifully expresses a connection to the land. So our story this morning is Berry Song by Michaela Goad. On an island at the edge of a wide, wild sea, Grandma shows me how to live on the land. Together we pull hemlock branches from the salty ocean, heavy with herring eggs like tiny stars. On the beach, we gather ribbons of slippery seaweed dancing in the tide. By the tumbling icy falls, we dip our nets for silvery salmon hidden beneath the current. And in the forest, we pick berries. Salmonberry, cloudberry, blueberry, nagoonberry, huckleberry, soapberry, strawberry, crowberry. The berries sing to us, glowing like little jewels. We sing too, so Berry and Bear know we are here. Grandma tells me we speak to the land as the land speaks to us, I say. Huckleberry, soapberry, strawberry, crowberry, thimbleberry, swampberry, bogberry, chalkberry. The forest sings to us through the misting rain and whoosh of wing, the sweet smell of cedar and the tickle of moss. We sing too, so the land knows we are grateful. Grandma tells me we take care of the land as the land takes care of us. Gunalchish, I say, giving thanks. Thimbleberry, swampberry, bogberry, chalkberry, ligonberry, raspberry, bunchberry, cranberry. Our ancestors sang to us, their voices dancing on wind and water. We sing too, so they know that we'll always remember. And we sing for the future, so that all will hear and all will know this beautiful berry song. Grandma tells me we are part of the land, as the land is part of us, I say. The ocean sings to us, rolling ashore like a beating drum. We sing too, so the tides know we are home. Together we make salmonberry syrup and cranberry marmalade until the kitchen glows like a summer sky. We feast on huckleberry pie and strawberry crisp, raspberry scones and freshly whipped soapberries. We share gifts of blueberry jelly and nagoonberry jam. Gunalchish, we say, giving thanks. The nights grow long, edged in frost, as sea fades gently into sky. The forest is resting, the forest is dreaming, waiting for berry song. And so the seasons change. On an island at the edge of a wide, wild sea, I take my little sister's hand. Lingonberry, raspberry, bunchberry, cranberry, salmonberry, cloudberry, blueberry, nagoonberry. I have so much to show you.
This is the time we set aside for the offering in order to give toward the financial vitality of this community. Also, 25% of the undesignated collection each week goes to an organization in the local community that we partner with. For the month of November, we are partnering with Clemson Community Care. Each week, we also collect non-perishable food for the Clemson Community Care's food bank. You may also give by going to the UUFC website and using the donate button. There you will see options for paying your pledge and donating towards the organizations we partner with. Thank you for your generosity.
Did y'all see how full this wagon is and how full the arms of some of the folks bringing the cans and other goods forward? This is one of the many ways we give in community. And before we have our time of joys and concerns, we have our stewardship moment. And so I want to applaud, joyfully. We, as of Friday, are at 87% of our stewardship goal, at $183,503. Now, this is amazing and absolutely worth celebrating. And that means we still have 13% to go. I know that we can make that happen in this congregation. And I want to note that our congregational meeting has been scheduled for December 14th, which you'll find out more about. But it's really helpful for us to know how much has been pledged so that we can represent that appropriately at the congregational meeting. And so today, Some of you may remember or have been here as I've talked about our basket such that it is. It's not quite how I envisioned it coming together, but whatever is, right? And we've had names of people added to the various different ribbons wrapped around, and there's still more that we haven't had added, but each time we have an increase of $10,000 or more, we're placing one of these green balls representing that $10,000 increment. So since I last added any, we have 2 more to add this Sunday. And as part of our stewardship moment the last few weeks, we've had different people from the congregation share a little bit about why they support this congregation in whatever way that support is given. And Leslie Visage agreed to be that person today. Thank you.
I was a member of a UU congregation in Minnesota, so when I moved to Clemson in 2020, I knew I wanted to find a new church home. Moving in the middle of a pandemic is not easy, which is what my husband and I did. Wasn't by design, but it's what happened. And it made it very hard to meet people. So I was very glad to discover that this church had services on YouTube, so I could start trying to see if it was the right place for me. And I began by watching those services, and then when it opened up to letting people come back in, I started coming in person. I became a member in 2021, and since then it has become very important to me. I found a community of like-minded people and freedom to explore what my spiritual beliefs are. I find inspiration from the services, and it's increased my awareness of social justice issues, which are many in this area, as I'm sure most of us know. I've participated in several rallies for democracy with members from our congregation. I've enjoyed many hikes with the hiking UU ladies, or hulas as we were called, led by Sarah Summers Hoskins, and I found friendships here. I also yesterday for the first time did something I've always wanted to do, which is help with Habitat for Humanity. I've donated to them for years and years. It is very meaningful to go see the house, to actually help somebody build a house. And if you get the chance, talk to Michael Elder, who's here today, and explore if there's something you can do. You don't have to know a thing about building. I moved dirt yesterday, which is what I did, because the house was on a little bit of a slope, or the and we had to fill dirt in. Kathy Crane shoveled it into a wheelbarrow, and I helped spread it out with a rake. Sounds mundane, but it's needed because you don't want things. I filled a number of roles at UU. Like being outside, it's a wonderful way to spend a morning. I've also helped with several service auctions, and I'm currently the board president. I support UUFC with my time and money because I want this place to flourish now and for many years to come.
Thank you, Leslie. Each week, we take time to share our joys and concerns with one another, to hold them in our hearts as a reminder that we are not alone at any of the different stages that we are in our lives. And so as I share the joys and concerns, I've asked Kari if she would place a stone in this bowl, this vessel representing our shared community together. Yesterday morning, I received an email from Meg MacArthur, and she shares that her sister died peacefully yesterday morning, surrounded by family, after being on hospice. Kathy shares a sorrow that the Peace Corps office in South Africa has been closed through executive order. Current services are being phased out. Kathy also shares a joy that South Carolina has established protection permanently for 62,000 acres along the PD, Santee and Black Rivers. This project represents the largest conservation easement in South Carolina history, which is appropriate to lift up on a day like today's service, in which we offer gratitude to the land. Have a joy from Michael Cole that Stephanie Howard, director of the Pickens County Library System, has been awarded the South Carolina Library Association Intellectual Freedom Award for standing up for the right to read. And we have a birthday, a big milestone. Paula Husenfeld celebrated her 80th birthday on Friday. And she looks forward to a new decade filled with possibilities for growth, laughter, and love. And we place one more stone for all of those joys and sorrows that remain on our hearts this morning, or that are on the hearts of those watching from other places. We'll hold that for just a moment. Now, I invite you to help sing our children to their RE spaces with Karen this morning with singing Go Now in Peace.
I have a reading for you today from a speech given by Raven Payment at October 18th at the No Kings rally in Colorado State Capitol, and it was shared on Facebook. I was initially to give a land acknowledgement today. This infers that I use polite words about the theft and loss of life of my ancestors, to name the tribes, to give a moment of silence before the show goes on. But I'm tired of these hollow gestures. Land acknowledgements have become a ritual of comfort, a way for you all to feel righteous without surrendering power, without giving land back, without changing a damn thing. Words without action are not respect. They are permission for the injustice to continue. And yet when we are invited to the table, we are asked to only acknowledge the land. Well, I already do, every day. Because my people's bones are in this soil. Our songs are in the wind. Our memories are in the rivers. I don't need a scripted moment to remember that. I live it. It's in my DNA. The land doesn't need acknowledgement. It needs restoration. It needs protection. It needs the people who belong to it to be visible again. Because here's the truth. Native people are invisible to you. You assume we live somewhere else or on some distant reservation, out of sight and out of mind, or worse, that we're extinct. But we are not gone. 80% of us live outside of reservations. We live right here in your neighborhoods, at your schools, in your hospitals, in your offices, in your movements. We're still here. We've always been here. You come out to protest wearing your handmaid's tale costumes, shouting about dystopia, about the fear of what could happen to you, about losing control of your body, your freedom, your voice. But the terrible things you're afraid might happen to you, they already happened to us. The dystopia you imagine, we lived it. The genocide you fear, we are surviving it. The apocalypse you dread, it already happened to my ancestors. You want to fight tyranny? Learn from the people who have endured it for centuries. When you destroy the forest, you silence our medicine. This is not metaphor. The land is our relative, and it's dying under the same systems that made us invisible. I am worried at the perception that America was founded on greatness, and that there is a period to which we should return. Let me be clear. We need a vision of newness, because at no point has America ever been great for everyone. The founding documents declared that all men are created equal, but they called my people merciless Indian savages in the same breath. Those words are still written there. That stain has never been erased. We are here at No Kings because we are done pretending that this system works. We are done watching the same kind of people hoard power while others struggle to survive. We are done being invisible. We know what we don't want. We don't want kings. We don't want rulers. We don't want systems that destroy the planet and then ask us to say thank you. But we can't stop there. We need vision. We need creation. Do not mistake this for hatred. This is love for our relations, human and more than human. This is love for the children who will inherit what we leave. That love looks fierce. It has to. Otherwise, our history repeats. If you really want to honor the land, act like it. If you really want to honor indigenous people, follow our lead. What we need is courage. We need truth. We need people who are ready to do more than clap for justice. We need people willing to fight for it. So stop asking us to acknowledge. Start asking yourself what you're willing to give back, because acknowledgement without action is not allyship. It's complicity. The apocalypse already happened, and still, we're here. No more kings, no more lies. Land back, power back, future back.
Indigenous people, shine your light, we are equal. I remember the days when our prayers were illegal. I remember the days when being Indian was lethal. Yeah, we had a rough past, but get ready for the sequel. Get ready for the glorious comeback of our people. Oh, yeah. Rise up, all you warriors of love, all you answers to the prayers of our ancestors from above. I can feel it in my heart. Can you feel it in your blood? I can hear the seventh fire calling us to wake up, wake up. All nations rise. Rise up, 'cause now's your time. We don't have to hide anymore, 'cause now's the time. All nations rise, rise up, 'cause now's your time. We don't have to hide anymore, 'cause now's the time. With forgiveness as my bow and my prayers as my arrows, pull them back and let go. I watch them fly like sparrows. Have hope. Yeah, have hope. With compassion as my shield and faith down to my marrow, I will walk the pollen path even when it gets narrow. Yeah, yeah, I resurrect. Yes, you can bet that we seen the single mama raising children on the res. We seen domestic violence tear apart what we have left. We seen the alcohol take it all and leave us dead. We seen the children take their lives when they can't take the dread anymore. It's a war. Can't take the dread anymore. It's a war. No, we can't take the dread anymore. It's a war. No, we can't take the dread anymore. It's a war, but we've seen it all before. And now we know we can change it, 'cause that's why we were born. We know we are the ones that we have been waiting for. We are the ones Grandma has been praying for. So rise up, all you warriors of love, all you answers to the prayers of our ancestors from above. I can feel it in my heart. Can you feel it in your blood? I can hear the seventh fire calling us to wake up, wake up. Pueblo hermoso, levántense, es nuestro tiempo. No tienes que esconderte más. Ahora es nuestro tiempo. Mujer indígena, tú eres tan sagrada. Traigas medicina de tu suelo todavía. A pesar del abuso de tu cuerpo y tu tierra, respetamos tus ancestros y la suya cultura. Hombre indígena, tú eres honorable y yo veo la fuerza que todavía sobrevive. A pesar del abuso de tu raza venerable, yo respeto tus ritos, tus danzas, tus padres. Somos guerreros del amor y guerreros de la paz. Sí, no vamos a escondernos más. Somos guerreros del amor y guerreros de la paz. Sí, no vamos a escondernos.
And Creator is sending his very best warriors. And this time, it isn't Indians versus cowboys. No, this time, it is all the beautiful races of humanity together on the same side. And we are fighting to replace our fear with love. And this time, bullets, arrows, and cannonballs won't save us. The only weapons that are useful in this battle are the weapons of truth, faith, and compassion.
Sorry. So I wanted to be intentional today. So you have two white people up here leading the service. And I wanted to lift up the voices that are not as present here among us today in talking about land acknowledgement. And that's why I asked Kari to read part of the speech. And just so you know, that was only about half of it. I took out the stuff that was very specific to Colorado, so since it's not as relevant to us here. This music from Layla June, an Indigenous artist, writer, musician. I'm sure you have noticed in your time here this morning or any times that you've been here previously that one of the things we include in our welcome is a land acknowledgement. Ours is very short. It doesn't have a tremendous amount of detail. But today I want us to consider why. Why do we do a land acknowledgement? What's the purpose? In order for it to not be a hollow gesture, what can we do to live into that? How can we leverage our privilege in the support of the Indigenous communities that remain here in South Carolina? A few years ago, I had an opportunity to participate in several workshops called Beloved Conversations that was provided by Meadville Lombard, one of our UU seminaries, that had online sessions that UUs from across the country were invited to participate in. One of the sessions focused on land acknowledgements. We were asked to read about the context of land acknowledgements, what should or should not be included in those land acknowledgements. And then we were asked to do some research about where our families came from and settled here in this country and the indigenous lands that they occupied, to explore how we could connect to support those indigenous communities. I looked at where my dad's family settled in eastern North Carolina, in the Rayford area, kind of near Fayetteville, if any of you are familiar with North Carolina. And then down on the coast in Bogue Sound, the two indigenous groups that occupied this area on the Sound were the Nusiak tribe, which does not have a tribal presence there anymore. It assimilated into other tribes. And then in the Rayford area were the Lumbee. And the Lumbee in that area are still 55,000 strong. They're the largest indigenous community in North Carolina. And because I grew up in this area, I already had relationships with some people that are of Lumbee heritage and was able to have conversations to hear what it was like for their grandfather to be in what was called the Indian Normal School, a boarding school that he was taken to have some of his identity stripped away, his language and his culture. Being able to talk to somebody whose family has been directly impacted even so recently is important. So I share all of that because I want us as Unitarian Universalists to do a better job. And our denomination has done things at a national level over the years, many giving introductions when they speak at General Assembly or other gatherings of Unitarian Universalist, in which they say something along the lines of, my name is, my pronouns are, and I am on the indigenous lands of such and such tribe, looked up on a website that shows whose lands you are on. And often there's overlap depending on the time, the ways in which the tribes were moved or relocated. And one way to address that this hasn't always been done as well as we would like, in 2020, General Assembly was planned to be in Rhode Island. And of course, that date should be familiar as the year of the pandemic, really radically impacting our lives. But still, they decided to continue with the programming, which included the indigenous people of the Rhode Island area, the Narragansett, which I tried to listen to several times, and I cannot promise that I'm pronouncing that right, and the Wampanoag tribes. Their stories, their music, collections that were taken up during worship and workshops were included in our virtual worship. There have been UUs that felt like sometimes this has been an empty gesture when we do it every time someone introduces themselves versus doing it at an intentional, larger level with more information included. And I want to name that for those of us that are white and UU, we have had times that we pat ourselves on the back when we showcase an individual from one group that has been marginalized or another, and forgetting that we need to show up, not just show them off, but to show up and follow their lead. And so, in preparation for this service this week, I reached out to Chief Lamar Nelson, and some of you may be familiar with that name if you were here a couple of years ago. Shortly after I started, he was invited, and this whole front section of the sanctuary was filled with tables of artifacts that he brought as an archaeologist to share with us, to share the history of the tribes here in this area. And he is the chief of the Eastern Cherokee, Southern Iroquois United Tribes of South Carolina. This was an endeavor to have a relationship with the local tribes. And we haven't necessarily done a great job of continuing that. So I wanted to bring this up in the service today because part of what I talked to him about was, well, what's going on with the tribe? What are the ways that we can support you all? And so I'm going to share some of his information that he shared with me during our conversation. He said that he had some joyful news to share, that they are now officially state-recognized tribe, which 2 years ago they had not received that recognition. They recently held a ceremony, paddle and fire ceremony at Mile Creek Park to honor the remains of their ancestors that are under the waters of Lake Kiwi when it was created by flooding the area. There are still no tribal lands, which means every year when they have powwows or other gatherings, that they have to pay to rent land so that they can hold these sacred, joyful celebrations and all that goes into that. Which I also want to name, he said that the last one had about 1,500 people. So also land large enough to hold space for that many. And he wanted to invite you all Any of you that would like to come? The next powwow is on May 2nd. Hayward Mill in Pickens, and he even said if you know anybody that's a crafts person, they also open up booths for vendors that are outside. He shared that in all of South Carolina, there are about 50,000 indigenous people, and that few of them were what he termed full-blooded Native with other racial backgrounds. So what can we do? He said that if anyone has any artifacts that are obvious that they belong to indigenous people, ask them to donate those items to the tribes, to return them to the rightful heirs. Another thing we could do, and I want to talk to our social action team about this, is that we can write a letter, to the tribe acknowledging that we are on their ancestral land, a proclamation that supports that we acknowledge our place here on their ancestral lands and the impact that continues on their communities. He named that they also survive on grants and donations. It helps pay for things like the rental of the land for their powwows, but they also provide food and medical support for tribal members across the area. And they, like so many, have been struggling with access to healthy food, dealing with alcoholism, obesity, and other health things that donations help them support their tribal members. And I have his information if anybody'd like to get in touch with him. He would welcome additional conversations. Sorry, I skipped around and I have to figure out where I should be. It is important for us to have conversations with Indigenous people and to not see them as, or well, rather, to ignore their presence, to have them feel invisible. Rather, it is important for us to acknowledge not just that this was their land, but that they are still here. As we think about this week, our theme of equity for our stewardship campaign and the idea of generosity for our monthly theme, if we are working to create a more equitable world, recognizing our impact, leveraging our privilege, whether it is our financial privilege or otherwise, to show up and to follow the lead of those saying what they need from us. So I'd like for us as a congregation to consider the purpose of our weekly recitation of the lands which we are acknowledging. I've talked to the worship associates about possibly having one welcome that is more intentionally a land acknowledgement, not just a short thing that's tagged on to everything else. As we look at the possibility of sending a letter to the tribe, maybe we can come up with something that is in alignment with that. And anybody that might want to talk to the social action team is invited, of course, after service to come join us if you're interested in working on such a proclamation from this congregation. And I also want to talk to them. I have an idea to present to them that we give of our money to 4 benevolences a year currently. Each of them we give to quarterly based on that. But what if we added 2? It wouldn't be as much money to each group, but it would allow us to support other groups. And if we were to decide to do that, I would advocate that we consider one of the recipients to be the Eastern Cherokee Southern Iroquois United Tribes. This isn't something that is decided by one person. I don't make that decision. This is your congregation. So you get to help make those decisions, help make it look how you as a congregation would like to be involved. And another piece that is really important about our understanding of land acknowledgements is learning history. So some of you may have come across this book at some point. It is An Indigenous People's History of the United States by Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz. And it gives a really great overview in talking about Indigenous history. And this is a copy that belongs to the church, so if anybody wants to take a look at it or get information about it, it's here. And another one, I thought about using a couple of readings from this, but decided to use part of the speech that you heard Kari read. And this comes from, in part, Layla June, who you saw in the video just a little bit ago, called Lifting Our Hearts Off the Ground. And it is declaring Indigenous rights in poetry. So the United Nations has a Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples, and each section has an article written in that legalistic article section of the Declaration. But then it has a poem by Layla June and her response, her understanding through poetry. And then from Joy DeVito on the following page, it's a poem from a white Canadian woman and how the impact of the article and of Layla June's poem connects for her and her experience. There are a lot of other really great books, but those are just 2 that I have that I can show you. The children's area back here in the back corner has a number of books that are geared towards kids as well, in addition to the one Karen shared earlier. So when we leave here today, I invite you to keep thinking about the importance of acknowledging where we come from as individuals, as community of faith, where we reside on the lands we are on today. Chief Lamar Nelson mentioned that Clemson in this area is where his ancestors resided, more specifically, and he's now out in Pickens County in Duncan, South Carolina. Recognize our impact on plant and animal life, human life, and the planet itself. Recognizing how this land has been held by different people, settlers and indigenous tribes that crossed through this area, And I want you to really take a moment to think about that this week as we celebrate Thanksgiving. For many Indigenous people, there are mixed feelings about this Thursday. Some see it as a day of mourning. We typically celebrate it these days as a time of family and friends coming together and sharing a meal, sharing our gratitude. But I want us to acknowledge that there is a lot of complexity in the mythology and the problematicness of the mythology related to Thanksgiving. I invite you to acknowledge that we would not be here without both the good and the bad, the helpful and the harmful. We cannot live just in our privilege. We must also acknowledge that that privilege has been used to abuse, to hurt, to kill other people. I know that's heavy. That's a lot of information. But I hope that you can take with you thoughts of how we can live into our faith, into that call for equity, and the call for justice, and a call for being in community with the foundation of love, a liberating love. And may we offer gratitude for the land on which we reside and those that have been impacted by it. May it be so. May we make it so. And blessed be. You are invited to rise in body, mind, or spirit, wherever you are, to join in singing number 134, Our World is One World. May our hearts hear that different call. As we go forth today, may you go in peace and return in love until we're together again.